and then you think, right, well, we'll build on that, and actually you don't. You go backwards again. That would be the worry for me if I was a Castleford fan or part of their coaching staff. For Warrington, it's remorseless. To play well at Weldon Road, you just need to play up the middle with your big pack doing everything they can to dominate the opposition, and they've got all of that at the moment. They look a really well balanced team, but so to do it without Josh Drinkwater, who normally in that sort of smaller ground his kicking game would be absolutely ridiculously advantageous. That just says something about where Warrington are at the moment and the level that they're playing at. So Easter's going to be really interesting because they get Wigan and Saints over Easter.
Yeah, and I think non-Warrington people are sort of waiting for that, aren't they? They're almost hoping that they will lose so they can say it's not Warrington's year. But yeah, that's going to be the test, isn't it? And it's never easy over Easter anyway, is it? But
it's reaction, and that's what Steve McNamara was saying, that it's not about losing your first game. You know at some point you're going to lose. It's how you react to it.
But confidence breeds confidence, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And I think you get on a roll, and it's the same as a referee, really. I suppose there will be times in your career as a player or as a referee or any sports person where you think actually there's almost nothing you can do wrong because everything you kind of touch work comes off.
Yeah.
And people talk about creating your own luck. Maybe there is an element of that, but I just think it's about confidence. There's no doubt they're playing with confidence at the moment. As you said, the challenge will come when inevitably they do lose. Because I think there's very few teams will go through Super League unbeaten.
And they're taking big away followings. I think was there a couple of thousand there at Castleford on Friday night?
I think it was their highest away attendance.
Their highest away
at
attendance at Cass.
Yeah.
Which again just says something about the buy-in. When the season kicked off 6 weeks ago, there was a real scepticism amongst Warrington fans. Like you've sold us this dream. Can you deliver? Because we're the ones that have to go to everybody's ground and take the mocking songs. Yeah. And it starts well, and suddenly within 6 weeks they're taking a record attendance to Castleford. There again clearly is something that the Warrington fans are seeing that they're completely buying into. I'm pleased for Darryl Powell because I think the way he wants to play the game and a season that he had last year that he's not used to having, to have come out of that the other side with the team that he wants playing the way that he wants so quickly at the start of a season. I think that's a testament to him.
I think,
and I'm pleased for him because
things can change so quickly though. So I think
I
think I'm sure Warrington won't be behind the scenes. They won't be getting carried away, and it'll be that looking at next week and who they play next week, and it becomes boring. Yes, but that is what teams do. That they will only focus on what's coming up.
Successful teams.
Yeah, absolutely, because they'll look at the performance and there'll be things that they'll have done at Castleford that they won't be happy with. The things that they'll need to improve going into this week, and those are the areas they'll focus on as well as what they've been doing well on, and that's how you build performances week to week without focusing too much on the end goal.
I just think the nil for Cass is a real worry.
We mentioned Thomas McKelly leaving early, didn't we?
Yes.
You don't think it'd be not a massive hole to fill? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, I think he started the season really, really well. In fact, in the first game, it was noticeable that all of the focus of attention rightly was on Paul Vaughan, but McKelly wasn't that far behind him in the impact that he had. And I think he's been really consistent. And Cassiano, I think, picked up a ban in this round of disciplinary. So it's great to have a McKelly type to come in and they can fill the gaps. So it's going to leave a hole. Whether they think they've got enough with, James Harrison was injured, wasn't he? I don't know how long he's out for. They are going to have to look at how they fill that, and it's a blow. But he has family that want to go back to Australia. Gold Coast have come in and said that they need a prop. They've got an injury and they need to cover it. And so I think Saturday will be his last game. It will be a blow, but not a fatal one, that's for sure.
On the last video, which I've now lost the live chat for, we were asked about the rumours from Australia that apparently there's going to be a Four Nations tournament down there because they've rediscovered international rugby, which is going to involve Tonga, but
it's not.
Steve Mascord put a story out early saying he's not going to. Tonga are coming here. So
yes.
My understanding is it's a 3-match test series against Tonga here.
Yeah, Tonga may or may not be asked to play in that Four Nations, but they reckon that financially and in terms of developing their team, it is far better they come here and play a 3-match series. So if there is a Four Nations, and there very well could be and perhaps should be in the Southern Hemisphere, It will involve either Fiji or PNG, along with Samoa
Which is
and
good.
New Zealand and Australia. It won't be Tonga.
Tom-
They are earmarked to come here. They may play Samoa in a warm-up game before they come over here.
And they can sell a load of shirts over here. If they bring them with them, make sure you bring them.
But we need that. I mean, I know that it's not within the realms of the RFL to announce that at the moment, but we could do with, the venues being announced for that sooner rather than later.
If you had one, I don't know how much 1.6 million Australian dollars is, but I think if I were running, are they called Rugby Australia? Because that's the kind of thing they call themselves, isn't it? I can think of better ways of spending 1.6 million to build my sport than signing one player, but I'm not Rugby Australia, so.
I just don't know how they'll ever get that money back, because clearly, I don't know who he would play for in the domestic competition, but I'm not sure that is an investment other than out of sheer panic.
Waratahs or the Rugby, they're the only thing, the Reds.
But they only play about 7 or 8 games a year, so if you divide $1.6 million by that, it's a hell of an investment with no degree of certainty. I don't know anything about rugby union, but I'm not sure an outside back is going to solve your problem.
They've just discovered scoring tries in the corner.
Right.
So
Right.
Tom Johnson's not injured either. That's good news from Saturday.
He wasn't shot by a sniper.
But no, he just fell over.
Cramp.
Thank goodness for that. So the Super League fixtures this week: Lee Wigan on Thursday night on the telly.
Watch that if you can.
Friday night, Hull Car Leeds on the telly. Saints Wakefield not on the telly. So that's a shame, isn't it? I remember commentating on the Saints Wakefield game on my own because nobody else was there. And the referee gave a penalty try and Wakefield won, so thanks for that for James. That was really nice of you doing.
Was it you?
Oh yeah, it was me. Yeah, yeah it was.
Because this was we had a great discussion once on back in the Radio Yorkshire days of how Wakefield always lost when you were in charge, which people forgot was because Wakefield were rubbish rather than it being.
Oh yeah, no, it was often quoted to me
Yeah.
by people involved at Wakefield as well.
Mm.
But I mean, yeah, absolutely right. Forgetting that what's their win percentage in Super League.
I feel seen now. On Saturday, Catalan's Castle, which I'm guessing is not on telly over here, but it's in
Although
Spain, Spanish television.
it was very interesting. No, they're taking again matches that are on Sky, but L'Equipe have took coverage of Saturday, and again they've got 6.5 million Twitter followers, and they were showing the highlights, the French commentary of all the tries, not just the Dragons tries, and yeah, it's great, and that's being shown in Spain as well on TV3 for the first time. So yeah, no, that game won't be, which is a shame, but. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the Dragons respond to defeat, as Steve McNamara said.
The Spanish will be able to get a grip on rugby league really easily because that's where 3-2-1 came from. And if you can understand the rules of 3-2-1, you can understand the rules of rugby league. One for the teenagers. On Channel 4, Warrington Hull FC. Sunday, Salford versus Huddersfield.
That'll be a good game. That will be interesting because that'll be a measure of two teams again that play in a completely different way. Salford will be looking to score on as many opportunities as they can, and can they break down the process?
Didn't they play in the playoffs last year at Huddersfield? Was that Huddersfield against Salford? The same weekend.
Or was that the year before?
No, I think the Huddersfield played at home in the opening round of the playoffs last year. Because I remember Catalan against Leeds, which was like World War Three.
Yes.
And
Yes.
probably the hardest game I've ever done in Super League. And then the following day
Yes.
it was a tremendous game, completely different game really. And it was one of those games when I was watching it, I was thinking, why didn't I get to referee this game? Because this was far easier than the game I got to referee.
In the unpredictable championship, which has reached round 7 already, Featherstone Rovers remain unbeaten. Their fans are not happy, but they've won 46-4 over York. Well done, Featherstone. I'll be there on Thursday. Toulouse lost to the Sheffield Eagles. The mighty Eagles 32-4.
Again, the manner of Eagles' victory, they're starting to now be seen for what they are, and that is a team that has a genuine chance of upsetting the apple cart this year.
I don't know if they've signed a lot of different players this year, but
They've signed a lot, and they've put them on longish contracts
Right.
as well. They've got a new backer
Right.
who apparently is extremely wealthy and likes the IMG proposals because he can see that there could be a return on the kind of investment.
well, they're not going to be able to play at that ground
No.
in Super League, are they? They're never going to get a licence there.
But there is ground around it that can be developed.
Yeah.
So yeah, they with performances and results like that, you cannot take them for granted anymore.
No, they're obviously playing well.
Dream big. One day the Eagles wheelchair team could play at the arena. Get 'em in there. Barrow beat Halifax 16-12. Another surprise result.
Barrow's first one in the season.
Indeed, and they go above Newcastle on points difference. Newcastle losing at Widnes 24-16, a game in which I saw John Kay quoted as saying it was a fake win.
Well, Widnes were hanging on at the end. That is for sure.
Whitehaven lost to the Bulldogs 16-18.
I must say, I listened to that yesterday afternoon on Radio Cumbria, and I have to compliment their commentary. Incredibly passionate, really knowledgeable, great excitement, a game that went down literally to the last play, and it was a pleasure to listen to the Radio Cumbria commentary of that.
London beat Swinton in another close game 16-14, coming from behind at half time in that one, so a big result for London. And of course the Cougars beating Bradford, and it's not just that they beat Bradford, it's the scoreline there, 24-0 up at half time, 34-6 at the close. I have read some comments that perhaps Bradford having to fit in the lone players from Leeds didn't help, but did they have to take players or not?
They had them the week before and it didn't seem to do them any harm.
Excuses. But Keithley, big winners. Luke Gale scored a try. He's famous. And that is their first win over Bradford since 1970-something. 3 wins from 7. Good start to their life back in the Championship.
It's how they back it up this week. But again, that as we're told was a fantastic occasion.
I think that you're looking at the squad that I wouldn't have predicted that they would be at the bottom end of the Championship, to be honest. I would have thought that they would be mid-table-ish, something like that. They've invested, into that squad. So I think, Newcastle and Barrow towards the bottom end, they look like they're going to struggle this year, and Swinton are towards the bottom, aren't they?
But then, as we've said, for time immemorial, if you have distributions in the league that are dependent on where you finished the year before, the top will always be towards the top, the bottom. There's exceptions, because clearly Batley have cut their budget even though they've made a grand final, and Keighley have had investors that have probably put more in than merely they would be getting from central distribution. But whatever the change is in terms of licensing and how that works and who ends up where, I do hope that the central distribution in the Championship going forward is equal, because I think you'll have an even better competition if it is.
I suppose the devil's advocate argument would be, how do you reward performance? Do you reward performance by giving them extra prize money?
Yes, absolutely. You have 2 competitions, the 1895 Cup and a Championship Grand Final that has prize money attached to it, winner take all. But for your league season, whereby there isn't an automatic promotion or relegation at the end of it, if you're moving into a licensing era, clubs should start on a level playing field, and that makes that competition even better. It's clearly good at the moment, but it's not a surprise that Swinton and Barrow might struggle if they've got maybe half to a quarter of the money that other clubs at the top end of the division have got.
What was Barrow's crowd? Because Barrow have been getting some good crowds.
1,879.
Yeah.
In fact, all the crowds in the Championship were pretty good, actually. I think even allowing for the fact that we had the BD Derby, almost 2,000 at Barrow, almost 3,000 at Featherstone, almost 5,000 at Keighley, 1,000 at Sheffield, which again, from where they've been and with the facility they've got, is not a bad effort at all. 1,000 at Whitehaven, and nearly 3,000 at Widnes. That's sustainable.
And it probably correlates with I'm assuming the attendances are probably up in Super League as well. Whether that comes off the back of the World Cup, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I was looking for the women's results in the paper and I can't find them, so I've had to go onto the RFL website. So I'll come to those in a moment. Kerry Nasty's Riley Dean back at Featherstone. Yes, he is.
Yes, he was this week. Yeah.
Oh, I should have just asked you and not had to look through the paper. Losing Kieran Gill earlier and having a reshuffle in the left edge, Crossland Deary says Badger. Luke Gill dominated down that left edge for the last part of the first half and it killed Bradford. My first time at Cougar Park, can't help but think it would be improved with a working clock, never mind a big screen. Oh, plenty.
think they had a power outage, didn't they? Because Radio Leeds should have been
Yeah.
commentating from that, and it ended up being, I'm assuming, off his mobile phone as just updates.
There
So I
must
think they
have
had a
been
power outage.
too many people pulling pints,
Reporting on mobile phone.
putting pies in the microwave.
It takes me back to the old
Blues.
days. In the Women's Championship, before I get to League One, because I've got it in front of me, Hull KR beat Swinton 58-6. They're going well at the start of the season now, the Rovers. Alton Ray, that's the champions last year, of course, beat Warrington's reserves 20 points to 14. Hull beat Wakefield 28-0.
That's the rustle of a biscuit, man.
A biscuit. Stanley beat Sheffield Eagles, and Dewsbury Moor, who also started the season well, won away at Widnes. It's the launch of the Women's Super League tomorrow. Content to follow. I don't know who we're going to speak to, so stay tuned and find out over the next few days, because I generally don't know who we're going to speak to.
I don't have to watch him, but it's another
Tunnocks, the good people at Tunnocks. We have to tag them in to a tweet
at
eventually.
Tunnocks.
Unfortunately, says Badger, the power cut didn't stop the Robbie Williams tribute at half time. Surely Keith, I mean, come on last week with their big idea. Should have got the actual Robbie Williams in. Surely. Let's wait for Lady Gaga at the grand final. I mean, we are going to get some. The problem with the grand final entertainment last year was it was a DJ who used to be on the BBC's niche radio station for hipsters. Not
me then.
No. So it's probably
You
should have
agreed
closed
with
down.
that far too readily, by the way.
Well,
When I said
well,
not me then.
There's
No.
nothing wrong with not being a hipster. Hipsters are bad people.
But actually,
Oh.
the crowds for the grand finals are generally not that bad.
Yeah.
It's probably post-COVID where they've dropped, and then it depends on the teams. But what the competition really needs is that game should sell out, irrespective of
Yes.
which teams are in.
Exactly.
And that game really should sell out in advance of the final, and in advance of the finalists being known. And that's where the sport needs to get to. That people just want to go to the grand final
And
because
one of the
it's an
things
event.
is you announce it well in advance who
Yeah.
you're going to see, as well as the two teams. So,
Yeah.
you know, if it is, tell me who was doing the NFL grand. Was it Rihanna?
Rihanna, yeah.
But if you know you're getting somebody of that name, you don't wait until the day before and tell people. You might buy a ticket because Lady Gaga is doing the pre-match entertainment.
Well, people would. There's no doubt about that. And more neutrals would definitely buy tickets for events like that. It's just whether you'd get that, recoup that money.
Do we go with if the Challenge Cup final is going to have 3 games in one day, which is going to be a stretch for the neutral, but still, do you sell that as the big Rugby League's big day out? You know, Rugby Union has their big games at Twickenham or whatever. I think they played one at Spurs this week as well.
Well, particularly if the Magic weekend is
Yeah.
going and the Summer Bash is going with the IMG plans, and it is Rugby League's big day out. But traditionally it has been, hasn't it? You see lots of neutral people wearing their own shirts. So, and I guess that's what we need to go back to. But they've thrown enough games now at that competition to try and sell it out. And I think Wembley's such a big stadium to pack out. It's almost a little bit too big for Rugby League. But that's probably the event where you do need a big name, entertainment draw for people.
Let's bring back the community singing.
There's no room. They've got the schools final as well. He's back at Wembley this year, so there's no time for anything to be done.
Yeah, but there's a huge stadium with 90,000 seats. You don't need to have it on the pitch, do you?
Absolutely.
And certainly
And if
Lee
you-
are not doing that, are they? I think that's in the back of the
Yeah.
stand. And in the grand final, you have it
Warrington
in the
did that.
corner.
Yeah.
Magic Weekend's the same. So you just need a section of that stadium which you dedicate to some entertainment.
Just not a DJ because it's just cheap, and apart from Leeds doing it next week, but that's different because that's a regular home season game, not a grand final. League One. Congratulations, Cornwall. They've won their first ever home fixture in front of a crowd of not given. 35-10 over London Scholars. As you were saying downstairs, Phil, it's great for Cornwall, but they've beaten London Scholars, who were bottom of the table. And
Yeah, I think there's still talk of this takeover at the Scholars. It seems
like the takeover at Salford.
seems to me that it needs to happen sooner rather than later, because again, all of these teams know that there is a potential limited shelf life on what they're doing, and there are those at the top that are scrabbling to be in the Championship when licences come. And again, Dewsbury have had another big win, and Doncaster undefeated. But you know, and Midlands Hurricanes are clearly improving. They're pushing more teams this year. You know, Cornwall and London need to know what the future is, but also how well equipped are they to face it.
The Midlands incremental gains, losing 38-28 to Workington.
Whose winger scored 5 tries deserves a mention.
Sabuti. Sure, I've pronounced that incorrectly. Apologies, Workington. Close enough. Batley, I'm reading the bottom end of the last week's result. Sorry. Also in League One, because it's a lopsided table, I'm confused. North Wales 4, Oldham 18, obviously boosted by the news that George Ford might play them for them in 20 years' time. I've never seen, I don't know how good he is. I've never seen him play. I just know he's Mike Ford's son. But North Wales with 0 from 4, which is surprising. And Rochdale, as you say, heavily beaten by Dewsbury, 52-4. So Rochdale only winning one of their 3 games so far. It is a lopsided table. Cornwall have only played 2 games, so it is very confusing as to
And that's
what you
difficult
can
for
read.
teams as well. If you can't get continuity from week to week, then as a coach it must be really, really hard. But yeah, you'll be pleased that Dewsbury are top of the table.
Honestly couldn't care less, which sounds...
Don't say
No, that
that.
might sound awful for Dewsbury, but I mean, yes, it was my hometown team, and it's the team I watched as a child, but, long lost interest really in Dewsbury. But nevertheless...
What would tempt you? Sunday afternoon, you're
Paul
you're
Sykes will still have
free.
been playing.
It
when
wouldn't...
Stanley watching him.
Well, no...
Liam Finn coaching, top of the league. What could they do to take it? It's not a bad facility, either.
No, and it's not a reflection on the club or the people that are there or the stadium or whatever. It's just, it doesn't matter what team it would have been as a child. That team for me doesn't have an interest anymore as it would do as a child. So, but nevertheless, it's I am originally from Dewsbury. My parents still live there, and my family still live there. So it's good for the town to see them doing well in League One. No doubt about that.
Challenge Cup this week, which means a lot of teams get byes in the league. Keighley at home to North Wales on Saturday. London Broncos take on Doncaster at Rosslyn Park. Is that who Martin Afire played for?
He did. That's where
That's
it
their
came
most famous son. And is he still selling electric cars on the telly and everything? Still no
Celery
Rugby.
Hanley's birthday today, by the way.
There you go. Another Hall of Famer. No Rugby League plays on Question of Sport yet. When's Tom Halliwell going to be on there? And
We had some players last year at Rugby League players on Question Spot
this is
last
the
year.
new series now, so we're starting again with our campaign to get people back on the telly.
And I was on it, but that doesn't count because I'm not a player.
Most watched episode on it.
Was it? Oh, I don't know
No,
about that.
Depending on what's got on Top Gear, you could go on that this year. Rochdale Mayfield versus Newcastle Thunder.
That'd be interesting. Bearing in mind that Mayfield beat
Will be,
Cornwall and Thunder are not in great form.
Sunday, Dewsbury Widnes, and of course teams are looking at this now as a...
So you go to that, won't you? Cup tie Dewsbury.
No, I don't think
Bring
I
back
would.
the old days.
No.
Teams looking at this now, getting closer to the 1895
That's the thing,
cut-off
yeah.
thing. So Widnes going to Dewsbury, obviously you mentioned Dewsbury being informed, but John Keir, Wembley, Cup Magic, blah, 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 and all that. So Halifax versus Barrow, same theory. Hunslet,
Who played this week,
of course, the reverse fixture. Hunslet Amateurs versus Batley.
which is
At
being
Batley.
played at Batley because they won't allow it to be played at Hunslet.
Hunslet Amateur Rugby League.
What is that club? Is that the old
It's the
Warriors?
it's the merger of the Warriors and the
Parkside?
Parkside.
Oh, okay.
They're the super club
Right.
now.
Why are they still called ARLFC when they're community clubs? Why are they CRLFC?
Don't know.
I've mentioned this before.
I don't know why the
That's-
professional club is RLFC and the amateur club is ARLFC because outside of Hunslet you would not know the difference.
Midlands versus Bradford in Bradford at the Old Source. Hopefully Midlands have been practicing on a tiny pitch this week for that one. And all these people signing off Wakefield's pitch. Oh, what a load of nonsense that was as well. That was great for the media again, wasn't it? Monday, is the game going to be off? Tuesday, is the game going to be off? Tuesday later, oh, it's on.
I refereed the second game back at Odsall. Was it last year? I can't remember the year before. I'm losing track of the years, but it was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like I've been on far better park pitches than that. It was they changed the dimensions of the pitch. I think after those first couple of games, so they made it slightly wider, but slightly shorter. But outrageous, really, that it was allowed to be played on in those dimensions. And I appreciate it was the same for both teams.
Yeah, I think the
But-
RFL contacted the landlord who was the RFL and said the game could go.
Yeah, well, we talk about conflict of interest. that probably sounds like a conflict of interest, but I appreciate they want to try and encourage teams to play in their their hometown instead of Bradford playing at Dewsbury, which wasn't ideal either. I get that, but signing that deal with with the trucks. What do they call? What they call
Monster
the
trucks.
monster trucks?
When do you get a monster truck on the pitch?
Perhaps was a little bit short-sighted because the dimensions of the pitch were probably an afterthought.
These are to represent Bradford's massive goalposts, which they made a big thing about. Was that a world record as well?
Oh, I would imagine so. Yeah.
World record. It's going to be a world record crowd for Midlands versus Bradford this week. So well done to them. And York versus Sheffield Eagles. Which
That'll be interesting.
The
Andrew Henderson derby.
Is it on the BBC or the Sportsman? It's on one of them, I think. They haven't said on here which is the BBC game, which is annoying.
I think they've only just announced it.
Have they? I tell you what, as much as the RFL gets a lot of stick, sometimes justified, sometimes not, just in case they're listening, which we know they are. The Football Association haven't announced which FA Cup semi-final is going to be on which day yet. And they have had a week since the quarter-finals.
Oh, they made a mistake of taking him to Wembley, didn't
Well, my mate's a Blades fan. He's trying to gamble on which day to get train tickets to go to London for, but he said he'd just go stay in a casino all night. And just
That was interesting though that they did both rounds drawn at the same time. I don't know why they did that, but because I always think the next round draw generates
It's
interest for
exciting,
that.
yeah.
I don't know why they did that.
Yeah. Well, they always used to be on a Monday as well afterwards, and you'd
Yeah.
crowd round the radio at 6:15 or whatever it
Yeah.
might have been to
Spanish
get it.
football in the Copa del Rey, I believe, or they used to do it. They draw all the rounds out from round one at the same time.
No sense of
I
adventure.
suppose it's a bit like tennis. You know, when you go to see
Yeah,
Wimbledon, you
yeah,
see that on the
yeah,
big board, don't you? You
yeah.
see the draw basically. Right? But I think by doing a draw round by round,
Oh,
you generate interest for the subsequent round.
And I don't think they should give you the numbers on the balls beforehand either, because the joy used to be when you had a little transistor radio. You didn't know what number your team. You were trying to work out alphabetically. Oh well, I know it's going to be in the middle, and it might be 11. Oh no, it could be 12 because Lee was 11, and you didn't know in advance. Look out for ball. No, I don't.
So
want
many
to look
words. You see, there's so many words at the bottom.
don't
You
know.
see, yeah, before the days of the internet, you'd listen to the radio, wouldn't
Yeah.
you? And you'd write them all down,
Yeah,
write the numbers
absolutely.
down. I remember doing this as a kid. Write the numbers
Yeah.
down because, Scoey's CFAX couldn't keep up, could it? Couldn't keep up with that. So, yeah, those were the days, huh?
Leeds must have played well this week. He texted me
That's-
at full time.
yeah.
Oh, you can text, can he?
What was his reaction? While you find it,
Bloody marvellous.
Badger says he believes York are on the BBC and Dewsbury Witness are on the Sportsman. So thanks, Badger, doing our jobs for us. And it should be in the paper.
Has he got Wi-Fi yet?
His initial reaction was great win, great character, sensational.
What did he say at half time?
He did text that.
Oh, bloody
rubbish.
Is there anything else we need to talk about? Is that it? Have we done? Is there anything else that's happening in Rugby League this week? I'm going to go to the paper.
No, I think we've covered virtually everything.
So next week,
Yes, next week we're live.
we're not here. Well, we are here.
We're
but
at Headingley.
This is news to me.
Yeah.
we're off
The
to
good
Headingley.
news is
We're
we're
off to
at
Headingley because they're celebrating some of the great number 10s in history.
Do I need to take a tin hat with me?
No, you'll be fine. They love you. Yeah, Steve Pitchford, Barry McDermott, Jamie Peacock, and Danica Preem.
I've heard of her.
Being interviewed by JJB. So I think we're going to try and get along there for 6 and do our show before it, and then maybe interview some of them afterwards.
Dancing in front of the South Stand.
Who was?
Danica.
Oh, sorry.
Not in the line. Have you not seen? It's all over the TikTok and the Instagram.
I haven't got TikTok.
I know you haven't, but it's shocking behaviour. These pundits, they should be all neutral.
I thought it worked on Channel 4 that clearly Sam Tompkins was taking the Catalan angle, and he is very, very good.
I'm not sure that I'll be watching a comedy show with Adam Hills and Helen Skelton doing two-handers, because that didn't work at the start. That wasn't great.
Didn't think so. But then, Danica having the Leeds perspective.
I think
And
that'd
because
work.
it's quite relaxed between them all, it really works.
I think that's so. I've not started writing a column yet, so I better write something. But
You better add.
I know. I think that's part of the standing pitch side thing, because if you sat when we're sat here and we're behind a desk, and you imagine that's what Sky are every week, aren't they? They're sat behind in their studios. They've got a table there. You're kind of confined, whereas you can move around, and here's someone coming in from here, and here's somebody else coming in, and it does feel, it's within a minute of its broadcast, everything's planned, but it doesn't feel that way because here's Ryan Smith coming in, here's whoever else is going to turn up. it does feel very free, which I think helps it.
It was good. Enjoyed it.
Good.
And
I
it's
thought
good.
Ashton Gordon was good actually.
Very good.
He's
As
very
his
good.
summariser on the
On-
Friday game,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
And
I
he's
thought it
on
was really
the
good.
Super League show as
Yeah.
well now, which is
Just offered a slightly different perspective. I thought something slightly different.
Players are great. Current players are
Yeah,
great.
I
They're
agree.
really good. So yeah, Sam was good.
Well, he's got a media. Didn't Sky sign him up years ago before he went to the NRL and made a big thing about signing him up as a pundit, and then he went to the NRL. And then, but he's back now, and he'll no doubt be on there next year
Mm-hmm.
if they sign a deal. We've got a deal with next year.
No news yet.
Otherwise, he might be eating pies on.
We were last told that Sky were concentrating on the EFL football deal, and when
Yes.
they had negotiated that and their part in it, then they would look at rugby league next.
Our Leeds are not in crisis anymore. Kevin.
Come on, they will be next week, won't they? Clearly, but they're not this
But
week.
congratulations, Warrington, lineal champions of the world. We'll see if they can defend that on Channel 4 this week. And that's what they.
So Hull could be world
Yeah,
champions.
Adam Hills needs to mention that. Someone needs to get.
Adam,
the
who does
message
he
to-
support?
Exactly. Someone needs to get the message to Channel 4. Do we know anyone at Channel 4?
I think we do.
Well, no, we know a few people. I keep forgetting. I was watching the darts. I was expecting Mark to turn up. He wasn't on it. Very disappointing. Right, we're done. We'll see you next week, live from Headingley. Fingers crossed if we get the Wi-Fi working. Do you know the passcode?
I know
Do you know
the
something? You know the passcode. That's.
It's normally pretty good.
I think I still get the one at Wakefield, but don't tell them. So we'll be back next week.